Hi everyone. If you've just joined us, my name is Patrick Cosgrove and I'm the Student Recruitment Officer at Mary Immaculate College. And this evening I'm going to be in conversation with Dr. Finn Ó'Murchú, who is the head of the School of Education Post-Primary at Mary Immaculate College, Thurles, and our campus in County Tipperary. I think we might just jump straight into it, Finn, if you're ready to go. I suppose first thing for maybe people who mightn't know too much about our campus in Thurles or the programs that are available, would you like to just give maybe a general overview of the campus itself and the programs that are available?
Yeah, thanks, Pat. So we have 6 programs available at undergraduate level, and basically what it means is that you become a teacher within 4 years, while at the same time you also graduate with your 2 BA subjects. So the combinations that we have currently, we have a BA in Education, Business Studies and Accounting, or you can have Business Studies and Religious Studies. You can have Gaeilgean Business, Gaeilgean Religion, Gaeilgean Mathematics, and Business and Mathematics is our new course this year, which brings us up to 6. I guess the most important thing about our campus is the quality of learning that you experience on our campus. Our profile is quite high. It's growing in demand. Our points over the years have increased, and maybe just so the listeners get some kind of ballpark figure from last year. So our Business Studies and Accounting came in at 392, Business Studies and Religion 326, Gaeilge Business 398, Gaeilge and Religious Studies 377, and our Maths program kicked off last year at 433. So that's just to give people that broad picture. I guess the other distinguishing feature, apart from the quality of our program and the job opportunities that accrue, is the fact that we're a relatively small campus. So because we're small, we get to know everybody. And I guess in a time of a lot of uncertainty, you can be certain that we'll know your name in a very short period of time. You can be certain that you'll know us as well, and that we're there to assist and to support you. We're very conscious of the current climate, and okay, lots of things are under review still, but we will make every effort, and we certainly will make a special effort for our first years to get them on campus, because learning isn't just about the lectures and the classes, it's about the social engagement and all that you learn between the lectures. So from that point of view, we'll work hard. We're looking currently at maybe the first years coming in on their own, and again, keeping in accordance with all the required restrictions, social, physical restrictions. We'll work around that as best we can, but we are prioritizing our first years at this particular time.
Okay, yes, that's a great overview, Finn, there for anyone that wasn't really familiar with the campus and the programs available. I suppose that the Thurles campus is probably best known really for the approachability of our staff and our lectures, and maybe the relaxed atmosphere on campus. So you kind of mentioned some of the unique selling points of the Thurles campus, maybe compared to other colleges. Do you want to expand a little bit on that, maybe, particularly I suppose in the current situation and maybe the uncertainty about college life is going to look at maybe come September?
Yeah. Well, I guess one advantage that Thurles has, first off, is its location, and the fact that the rail network and the road network are very good. Might give people some opportunities around maybe commuting for a little while, and we'll be very flexible in supporting students as well. And it's not, Pat, that we're better than anybody else. It's just that we have a better chance because of our size. So we'd expect to have maybe 400 students enrolled in our 6 undergraduate programs come September. And within that space, then you have the opportunity to even assist them with the accommodation question. And when first years come across into our program, I talk to them about the 5 A's, which are, and I usually teach the first year program as well, intentionally, so that I can get to know the students as head of school. Not sure if that will put people off.
No, not at all. I'm sure not.
Within that space, we have what I call the 5 A's, and the first A is attitude. and what's your attitude to all of this, because it's a very serious business to be a teacher. And I think COVID-19 has highlighted the value we place upon teachers and schools at this particular time. So we talk about attitude, we talk about you not being afraid to be brilliant, we talk about you believing in yourself. Having a sense of belonging is very important on campus as well. Some people will be going it alone, all their friends will be going to bigger urban areas. So going it alone brings its own challenges as well. And so that friendship piece is important. And I guess the guarantee is that if you do come to Thurles, you won't be alone. The other piece around the early conversations rest on things such as accommodation and supporting people in that regard, as I said. The academic rigor and what it means to be a teacher, and the academic rigor of you have to know your subjects. There's not much point in being good at teaching if you don't have a passion for your subject. And I'm sure those listening know well the teachers that made a difference. And that's the magic of the invite to come to Thurles, is that you can actually be the very best teacher that you've had for a whole generation yet to come. The other piece is that we talk about attendance, and if you're not in, you can't win. And we discuss that. And we're not a secondary school. There won't be any notes home if you're missing from college. But there might be an email afterwards just say, hope everything is okay. There's a caring element rather than a scrutinizing or surveillance element, if I can put it that way. And then we talk about other things, real things like alcohol, and maybe people being away from home the first time, maybe losing the plot a little bit. And, we talk about some of the dangers that are associated with being away from home as well. But by and large, the greatest resource we have on campus is each other, the students helping each other. And that's really the focus of our early days and early efforts. People get to know each other, people get a sense of maybe belonging, as I said, and then very quickly that grows into trust. And from trust, you can have one-to-one conversations, and you can have people really engaging in a meaningful way and looking out for each other. We do have a buddy system as well, where students who are in second, third or fourth year match up with our first years and help out. A lot of that work is informal rather than formal, but reading the fourth year's final reflections recently, you can see that patterns of relationships do make a difference, especially at the start. So our dropout rate is next to nil. Yeah, there's a bit of fluctuation the first few weeks, but once people settle in, they're there for the long haul. And our fourth years that are graduating, they're the first group now to graduate, Pat. We've had over 98% retention of that group, which is,
Yeah, that's fantastic, Finn, yeah.
That reflects very well upon the staff as well as the students. So there's that. And Thurles is small, but it's big enough to get lost, and we're big enough as well that it's not, it's not a fishbowl scenario, but at the same time, it's small enough to keep an eye out for each other. And the advantage is, okay, Thurles is in Limerick, it's not Cork. You go out on a Wednesday, Thursday night, you might have limited interactions as in options, but the fun is that you're together by and large. And if you're not together, you bump into another group who are together. And I guess the other thing we kind of push as well, Pat, is not just to come looking, is to come with a kind of a generosity of spirit as well. If you have something to give, like what we don't really have is an extensive clubs and societies menu, but we do have the option of supporting any group of students who come up with any idea. As I'd say, I was saying to you recently, but the biggest hit last year was line dancing.
I didn't realise that, Finn.
I'm a city slicker, but
you weren't involved in that by any chance, no?
By chance, one evening I stuck my head in and I got dragged in for 2 minutes. But once they saw the talent, they asked me to leave. So yeah.
Okay.
That's just an example of the ways that students make their own of it. And it's good for your mental health to be giving as well. It's not always about receiving. It's you feel good when you help somebody else out. So.
Exactly, and I think a lot of what you've just gone through there, Finn, if you want to, it was, I suppose, the fact that Thurles has such a great retention rate is probably a testament to the student support services and how well students are looked after and what a kind of a tight-knit community it is. I suppose what it also highlights is how well maybe you're helping students manage that transition from secondary school to third level. So you mentioned kind of some of the things that are obviously helping students make that transition, maybe like clubs and societies. Is there anything else maybe you just want to elaborate on?
I think the building the relationships and allowing students find their own way, find their own level. The beauty of going to third level is it's an opportunity to blossom. It's an opportunity to become who you really are, and that's something that we like to support students with. So from an academic perspective, you'll have the academic learning support. For a
Brilliant.
subject, for example, in business, accounting, and theology, religious studies, you don't actually need to have them in your leaving cert. But
Yeah.
for all subjects, there's the academic challenge of there's academic writing, there's referencing, there's it's not exactly the same as leaving cert. So that transition is looked after from the point of view of the academic learning centre side. The Student Union is an incredible resource to all of us on campus, and they do fabulous work as well. And they do a lot of on-scene work, and they look after each other in very nice and subtle ways. And the other supports then are the induction supports. There's the supports that you mentioned. We've Geraldine Brosnan on the Limerick campus, and herself and her colleagues are doing a lot of good work in that space as well for student support. And it's vital because that's the bottom line. You have to be happy where you are before you can maximize your learning potential. And I guess the other piece to it is our staff are approachable, and they work very hard at getting to know our students as best we can, getting to know their skill set, and nobody comes with an empty slate. Everybody comes with baggage, and we usually associate baggage with the negative. But you come with a whole skill set, and we have great fun in first year saying to somebody, what's your biggest fear about school placement? And they'll say classroom management. And I say, well, what do you do at the weekends? I work in a bar. I said, tell me about bar management. Tell me about how you manage a crowd. 12 o'clock at night, and you're trying to encourage them to go elsewhere. And all of a sudden, there are skill sets that life-wide, I think is the phrase used, life-wide skills. And all of a sudden, students realize that they have something, apart from a burning desire to be a teacher, they also now realize that actually they already possess a skill set that they can use. So part of bringing people into the world of teaching is to see what they actually have already, not just what they desire to have. And then that's the conversation over 4 years. And, the line we often use is, we'll support you to be the teacher you want to be. We'll challenge you to be the teacher you need to be. And that plays out on campus and it plays out on school placement. But at all times, we'll stretch you, but we won't break you. That's our
that's
that's what they need, because the last thing you want to do is to come to Thurles and not be challenged. You want to be challenged, but what you don't want is to be overly challenged. And that gradual process that plays out then in school placement, because it's a week in year one where you just get a feel for what's going on, and then in year two you go in for a 6-week program. And year 3 you have the option of traveling abroad if you wish. Good news came in this morning from Australia, especially this time, where they're really trying to work with us to have a 12-week semester in Australia. We've choices between Perth, Sydney, Brisbane, I think. But you can also stay at home. There's no pressure on anybody to be traveling abroad. In year 3, there's that option of traveling, and then year 4, you're on school placement for 12 weeks. And all of that work is supported in turn by placement tutors. We recently surveyed our students, and over 95% said that they enjoyed school placement, which is a phenomenal score relative to other institutions. I think a lot of it is down to the work of the placement tutors, the fact that we help students in getting their placement as well. If you're from Donegal, you go on your school placement in Donegal. If you're from Dungarvan, it's Dungarvan. But because some of us have worked in other areas, I worked in the inspectorate for quite a number of years, and there's a few of us who have, I guess, a network that we can draw upon. And that school placement is done by negotiation with students as well. So I wouldn't like anybody to think that it's left to their own devices or that they're forced to go somewhere that they don't particularly want to go.
Yeah. No, that sounds great. I think, yeah. I think you've clarified school placement there, definitely, Finn. I would imagine that is maybe something that a lot of students would wonder about. How,
Yeah,
you kind of clarified it very clear there that the college helps organise it for them and they can do it in the county that they come from.
absolutely.
Yeah,
And to stress, Pat, that it's teaching practice. You know, it's not teaching
yeah,
perfect. And if it was teaching perfect, we'd be out of a job. You know.
yeah. I agree.
Has to be, you know, being a teacher is about becoming a teacher. It's a lifelong learning journey anyway. So
Yeah,
within the first 4 years, they're very formative, they're very important. You're going to learn lots, but you're going to be supported a lot as well, both before you go out on placement and during placement. Yeah.
yeah. I know that's brilliant, Finn. I suppose the thing maybe I'm sure you might like to highlight as well. Obviously, all our courses in Thurles are you're fully qualified as a post-primary school teacher at the end of 4 years. So I suppose a lot of people now who are thinking of secondary teaching, they might be thinking of doing an arts degree and maybe a 2-year master's after that. Do you want to just talk, I suppose, about the savings, even cost-wise or obviously time-wise? You're going to save time by getting your qualification in 4 years.
Yeah, thanks, Pat. Yeah, the posh terms are concurrent and consecutive programs. So ours is a concurrent program in that you get your 2 years, or sorry, you get your BA in your 2 subjects. And I would advise you to be passionate about your subjects. You know, you have to have an interest in your subjects. Currently, just for people tuning in, you have about 80% of our students study business. Gaeilge comes in about 55, 60%, and then accounting TRS are about the 25, 30% mark, and mathematics only started last year, so that's
Okay.
only beginning. But yeah, definitely the importance of the advantage of the concurrent, apart from the quality, and quality is in there as well, because there is something about learning to teach the minute you cross the threshold and come in the door in Thurles, as opposed to doing a degree and then thinking, will I try teaching? Because in conversation with students, they'll say to you, well, you know, the advantage is I'm inside in my business or my Gaeilge lecture and I'm thinking, how would I teach that if I was teaching? And then I'm inside in my education lectures and I'm thinking of, all right, so framing questions, wait time, whatever, group, effective group work, that links to my subjects that I can now begin to make connections, and I guess that's one of the key advantages of the concurrent model. From a financial and time point of view, absolutely, because it's actually bordering on half the price. It's even more than half the price when you factor in the 2 years that you're out teaching that you'd lose if you were only doing your professional masters at that moment.
Exactly. Yeah.
So there's that, and then I guess the other piece is the MIC piece, which is the brand. And you know, I'm missing my sports.
Yeah, great to see you wearing your colours, Finn. Yeah.
It's as close as it gets at the moment.
Yes, yes.
And we'll be back in the sporting arena soon. But the other piece about MIC as a brand allows you travel, and it's recognized worldwide. Teaching Council accreditation, they accredit all our programs, so there is that national as well as international dimension. So for those who graduate, and some already have got work, I mean, they've been in touch with me, they've been looking for references, they've come back looking for interview support, we've given that support, they've come back and said, look, I've actually landed a job. Some have landed work here, others have decided to go abroad for a while, and without any difficulty, they've gained employment. From a subject point of view, currently Gaeilge, like a Muntor leg Gaeilge, and I think the leg Gaeilge is important. That it's not just any old Irish teacher that will graduate from us. You have to have a high standard of Gaeilge and a high standard of teaching. So in that space, you know, there are a Muntor Gaeilge is as rare as hen's teeth. Like the school principals are just screaming for Gaeilge. And our other subjects then as well are very popular. But that said, a few as well, and I think this might be of interest. the flip side is true as well, in the sense that maybe after 4 years you're saying, well, I don't want to go into teaching immediately. And there would be a small minority who might be offered work with some of the bigger companies in accountancy, and they may well wish to go that route, either for a while,
Yeah, yeah.
as a career move. But
I suppose that's sorry, but yeah, I suppose that's another great aspect of it, Finn, is that, like, obviously at the end of your 4 years, you're qualified as a post-primary school teacher in your two subjects. But like you were saying, if someone, for example, if you weren't teaching for a while or you wanted to change career, you can always fall back on the fact that you have your degree in your two subjects as well. So I'd imagine that's a great strength to have, is it, Finn?
it is, and you know, it keeps you going as well. So maybe you've a tough day over your 4 years when you're teaching, or a tough day
Yeah.
over 4 years when you're learning something, acquiring a skill in a specific subject, and it gives you options. And as long as you have options, you have choices, and you have that kind of sense of I suppose, control over your destiny in a way that you mightn't have if it was a very tunnel vision program. But the curious thing is, talking to past pupils, they say those who might go into business, for example, they'll
Yeah.
come back, they'll tell you stories about, but you wouldn't believe the amount of transferable skills that I got from teaching that are helping me in the business world. You know, like
Yeah,
straight up,
fantastic. Yeah.
yeah, like straight up, you can see the work around mentoring and coaching that goes on in
Yeah.
private enterprise, which links to, well, how do people learn? How do you create an environment in which people feel safe that they can learn? And all of a sudden they're drawing upon their teaching and pedagogical skills. And that progresses in different ways as well. The psychology of education can link to the psychology of selling, and how do you work with people and get the best out of people. So yeah, the transfer of skills is, we're only realizing, I think, actually, how complementary both the teaching and, we'd say, the non-teaching career options are for our graduates.
Yeah, that's brilliant. Yeah, I think like the fact that you just have more options than becoming a post-primary teacher is fantastic, Finn. I think that's something maybe a lot of students mightn't realise, that you do have other options as well. And I suppose there's lots of students and parents. I suppose it's the age-old question about job prospects at the end of your
Yeah,
4 years.
yeah,
You kind of touched on it there. But I suppose there's some fantastic subject combinations there, just for secondary or for post-primary teaching alone. Just straight comes to mind is like Irish and maths. You'd imagine
yeah.
you'd have no problem getting a job straight away, but maybe you want to elaborate a bit more on that.
Yeah, without a doubt, Irish and maths, Irish with anything, you'll certainly get work. But I think that there's another dimension as well, Pat, that's emerging. Just in listening to you there, it reminded me as well that my generation, you chose a career and that was your career. But I think that the beauty of being a young first year student, be you straight out of school, or maybe you're returning to education after a number of years, is you have a career ahead of you that may be more diverse than the generation that went before, such as mine. And that gives you a lot of opportunities, maybe to be a teacher for a while, maybe to be a broadcaster for a while, maybe to work in third level, maybe to whatever. So there are advantages to our program for that point of view. I'm after forgetting what you asked me.
No, I was just asked about job prospect. Oh, that was brilliant. I
Oh
think
yeah,
yeah.
the tracking the graduates over the past number of years, those who wanted to teach, there's over 90% of them are teaching. Not all of them in full-time employment, admittedly, but even as I was saying earlier, even this month, with the jobs beginning to come on stream currently for the academic year next year, already, you know, there's about 10% of our fourth years who have secured work. And we
Well, that's brilliant. Yeah, yeah,
So
that's fantastic.
and that's not just the subjects, that's them personally as well, and it's their professionalism. But I think it's also the program, and I think it's the
Okay.
quality of the program, and it's the recognition of Mary I as an early childhood and primary provider of the highest caliber. and people are recognizing that the post-primary piece is of a similar quality, and you know, it's full credit to the staff and to the students, because all our conversations here, and they're lovely to have and hopefully helpful to people tuning in, but the real conversation to have is with our current or most recent graduates, because they tell the real story, you know.
Yeah, they have the inside track, as they say.
Saying the right things, you know that.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I suppose it's brilliant. I think any prospective student, once they hear there's good job prospects after any of the course, I think they'd be very encouraged. I suppose one other thing, I suppose a lot of people wonder about, Finn, is maybe assessment. Would you like to talk a little bit maybe about how you're assessed on any of the Turles programs?
Yeah, well, the good news is it's nothing as severe as the Leaving Cert, and I know some of our listeners tonight may have been in sixth year and didn't sit the Leaving Cert, but I would just like to congratulate those people, because I think you were tested in a way that none of us who did sit the Leaving Cert were tested this summer, and hats off to you for your resilience and your ability to bounce back. And we look forward to seeing some of you in September, all going well. And the assessment on our campus, we like to vary the assessment. We're conscious of catching students being good. It's continuous assessment. Some of it is group assessment, which brings its own challenges for some people who may not like group work. But as we'll explain, there's a difference between ineffective group work and effective group work, and we'll work on that in your company, all going well, in September. And there's a range of opportunities if things go wrong as well. And I think it's important to note, especially in first year, you have a lot going on, especially if you're away from home. So at the end of first year, the clock goes back to zero, and we start all over again. And and then the real work starts in year 2, 3, and 4. Now, don't get me wrong, you need your foundation in year 1 to get yourself going. And there are a lot of incentives and a lot of supports with the assessment piece. The big one with the assessment, though, is in year 2 on school placement. And if you fail school placement in year 2, because of the seriousness of the work that's involved, you will be asked to step out of the program. We'll give you all the support you need if you want that support to re-enter the program and try your school placement again. But I think it's important that people know that this is a very serious professional program, and we will help you enormously. But again, it goes back to that first day, which is attitude. If your attitude is right, you will thrive. You'll thrive on the campus in Thurles. And the other piece, I guess, around the assessment comes back to the approachability of staff.
Yeah.
And we're really good and work really hard on together is feedback. And that every time that a student presents a piece of work, it's an opportunity for formative feedback, for engaging with the student to look at, well done, where you went well, and where can you go next. And I think that's, again, as I say, it's not because we're better people, it's just that we have a better chance with our numbers to have that relationship. So our total population of 400, that might fit into one lecturer in another institution. Like the largest group we'll have is 130, and even then we have tutorials that split that group up into groups of 20. And so there's that two-way feedback works then as well, because, you know, Pat, like, if I might be giving feedback to a student, but if I'm a wise teacher or a wise lecturer, I'll be looking out for feedback from them, because I need to know, I need to check how well am I doing. I might think I'm doing very well until I find out, actually, nobody quite gets what you're saying, Finn, because you're using too many words, or your Cork accent is too strong, go down, whatever it is. But that feedback is a two-way loop. And when we engage in conversations with students, then they start telling us things that they mightn't be able to tell us in a public forum of 400 in a lecture, or even 100 in a lecture. And that gives us an insight then into what we need to do. So that feedback it benefits both lecturer and student.
Yeah, I think that's great, Ben. I think the fact on the Thurles campus that I suppose you're able to develop that close relationship between staff and students that maybe is a bit more difficult to develop where the numbers are larger, maybe in different college
Yeah,
campuses. I think
it,
it's really one of the unique points setting
it,
the Thurles campus.
and it helps everybody, you know. It helps staff, and when I say staff, it's not just lecturers. It's Claire and Peggy in the ref.
Yeah,
It's Gary. It's Gary would be our caretaker. It's TJ, our security man, and his brother PJ. They're the people
yeah.
who
To
make the
run
camp.
the place, really.
Yeah, but the real ones that look out for students are fellow students, and when
Yeah,
they're upset or they're concerned about somebody, they'll go. It doesn't have to, and certainly isn't always me. They go to a member of staff and they say, "Look, I think Finn is under a small bit of pressure. Is there anything we can do?"
yeah,
And I think that's the way it should be. It's
yeah,
very soft. It's very gentle. We won't be, as I said, we won't be ringing home or anything like it, but we will be staying in contact with every single student as best we can. And yeah, and at the same time, Pat, I don't want people to think like that, you know, this kind of surveillance that we're staring at
yes.
you all the time. It's
Yeah.
big enough to get lost and do your own thing. But as I say, it's just small enough that we're able to look out for each other. It's a bit like
Yeah, no,
you need your time alone and you need your time with
you
your
do. You do, and I think what you've highlighted, Finn, is kind of the strengths really of the campus there, and how I suppose it really does help students make that transition from secondary school to third level. Now I know you've highlighted a lot of the supports and what's helped students, I suppose, thrive on the Thurles campus. But because we're kind of running out of time now, maybe the last question for the evening. I suppose, what advice would you give to as a prospective student now, starting first year in September, October time? Is there anything particularly you'd kind of advise them about?
Yeah, it's easy to say, Pat, and probably hard to do. But the first thing I would say is, don't worry, you'll be looked after. It's a time of uncertainty, but there are a lot of things that are certain about our campus and what we'll do. And we will know each of you very, very quickly. If there's any queries or concerns, there's a range of supports there that will support you. And that's looking out for the negative. I also hope that you will come with a lot of hope, a lot of ambition as a student. And we won't be, how shall I say, we won't be putting any restrictions on you as a person in your growth and development. We may have restrictions when it comes to COVID-19 and so forth, but we work around those. But it is an opportunity for you to blossom and grow, and they'll be wonderful days. You'll have a great time on our campus. We're small enough that you'll get to know your peers very, very quickly. You'll make friends for life. Maybe not on the first day, but you will make friends for life. That's guaranteed. You'll probably have a few bumps along the road as well. I've no doubt. I'm a home bird. I mean, I live in Cork and I commute to Thurles. I get homesick around Mitchelstown every day.
Yeah.
It's like to be away from home and to have that pain in your stomach. But all of that we can address. And for others, there won't be any pain. It'll just be wonderful. And hopefully that will be the case for everybody by the end of the 4 years. But my advice is, what has got you this far is not just your academic ability, but your personality as well. And the lovely thing about teaching is it's a combination of your personality and your academic ability. And then when you come to us, we talk about professionalism. We use big words like pedagogy, which basically means how you teach, how you learn, and how you let your students know. And yeah, it's a journey that we'll walk with you for 4 years. And upon graduation, then we hope that we can continue to walk with you. And very quickly, you become the cooperating teacher and school principal in schools for the next generation. So it's, I guess the health warning, Pat, is if you do come our way, watch out. We might be engaging with you for the rest of your life. So
that can be the danger, Finn. Indeed. No, thanks very much, Finn. I think you've given a very comprehensive and detailed overview there of the Thurles campus and the different programs that are available and the different student support services as well. So just like to thank you very much for coming on this evening. The next in our series will be tomorrow evening, so that's Thursday the 18th of June. At 7 p.m. I'll be in conversation with Dr. Geraldine Brosnan, who is the Director of Student Life at the campus. So we'll be looking at different student support services, different things like that. So if anyone that has joined us this evening, if you'd like to join us again at 7 p.m. tomorrow evening, you're more than welcome. I'd just like to finish again by thanking Finn for putting in a great performance there this evening and just making everything very clear and concise about our Thurles campus. And hopefully I might see some of you tomorrow evening again. So thanks very much, Finn. And hopefully we'll talk to you soon. Take care.